We're finally retrofitting something that is long overdue, and we know you VQ guys, you've been waiting for this, but it's time to modify a G35. We'll get into what exactly we're gonna put onto this car and what she has in a moment, but first, let me show you who's the owner of the vehicle, VQBella. Yo, get out. Get out, get out, get out, get out. All right. So Bella went ahead and got some eBay lights, right? Not a bad thing. That's what they are, all right? But it's not a bad thing. The issue is that these lights, they're not really of the highest quality when it comes down to sealing and protecting you from the weather. This is what we're working with. Some Spec D headlights, which are honestly, they look really cool. They're chrome and everything, and that's the look that she's going for. And it has the DRL, but we're gonna go ahead and take care of this DRL, projector, put probably the most that we can into this little unit. Look at that chrome wheel flex. Look at that. This is becoming the new style with G35s or cars in general, where everybody is now bringing back the chrome taillights. The issue is that a lot of these guys really don't know what they're doing, and they're just honestly producing some pure shit. So what we're gonna go ahead and do is fix this up, bring it from 2003 over to 2023 with some LED bulbs. I know this thing is leaking oil because it's a VQ, so. Is it really?
That like little spot right here.
Oh yeah, it really is, wow. We brought the G35 into the studio. Again, these are Spec D headlights. Not that bad, but the output is not that great. They look cool though, but we can definitely take it a step further. We're kind of gonna surprise her. She doesn't get to pick exactly what's happening, but I want to at least get her taste and understanding of what she's into, so that way we can make this like build series, you know, not only fun for us, but also something that's enjoyable for her to take home and, you know, flex at the meets, whatever VQ people do. That being said, you can't do these projectors and not upgrade your bulbs as well too. So we have some Morimoto bulbs that why did I say it like bulbs? Yeah, it sounds like a bug. We have some Morimoto bulbs that we're gonna put into this because I'm not really a huge fan of whatever bulbs that are being used on the Spec D from their factory. But today, it's time to take these out and yeah, all right. In this episode, we're gonna go ahead and take these headlights off, which means on a G35, you have to take the bumper off, which it's not that bad. It's honestly, thank you Nissan for keeping it fairly simple. Maybe episode 3 or 4 or 6, 8, 9, 11, it'll be a reveal and VQBella is gonna see her car for the first time with brand new retrofitted headlights from TheRetroFitSource. So if you guys want more help or information, just leave a comment and I'll be more than happy to help you guys out. But let's get these Johns out of here and I have to start with taking off the bumpers. So let's begin. What we're about to put in this is a Profile Performance RGB Demon light. Funny enough, I already went ahead and modified one, so that way we already know what works, what doesn't work, in the essence of time to get this headlight ready because she has a show that's coming up literally tomorrow. So we do have a kit available on TheRetroFitSource.com that's for Spec D lights. The projector bracket does need to be modified a little bit. I created some slits to make it all happen, but unfortunately, it was just gonna take a little bit more work than we have time for. So we actually kept the housing that comes with these lights and I cut the top to put the RGB Demon light on it. So I'll show you guys how I did it and you know exactly where I mounted things. So that way you can use it as a close reference, but keep in mind this is a custom application. Not everything has to be followed exactly how I did it. You guys can also use different projectors on both the top and the bottom. Speaking of, we also took out all the internals out of the bottom part of the light and added a second projector. So I'm going to show you which one I used and how I mounted it, along with some shrouds as well too. Now I just got to show you guys how I did it on this one. as I'm getting my greasy hands all over the headlight. Nice. Rule 1, get gloves. You don't want you to have your greasy chicken fingers. Once you get your fingerprint on the chrome, it is a pain in the butt to get it off. Not that I did it or anything, I would never do that. But I cleaned it because I'm a pro. So first things first, before you guys go ahead and try to open this thing up, there are multiple screws that you need to take off. Make sure to take off all the hardware and as much of the harness that you can take off. I am gonna take off the pins here. It's very simple, very easy disconnect. There we go. I'm gonna go ahead and just leave this on, but what you need to do to protect your harness, because obviously if the wiring's messed up, you're gonna have a huge problem. I'm gonna zip tie this as a bundle and then just make sure it doesn't hit any of the corners of the oven or it doesn't hit the grill itself. Take everything you can, leave it all to the side, and we're gonna get this zip tied and move on. We have to take a field trip. You ready for a field trip? Yay. All right, another thing that I'm also gonna recommend is we do have these on the website as well too. You can go to TRS, TheRetroFitSource.com, and get you some mittens, get your mitts up, protect your hands. So as you can see, I already have gloves on, but I'm gonna put these over, and then you don't have to go this far. You can just put gloves and then put black gloves on top of these, because once you open up this seal, the seal that's used on the headlight is gonna get on this and it can damage it. So if you wanna keep your mittens looking all nice and good for the rest of your life, then, you know, be smart, put a glove on top, glove it up. So there's a lot of discussion on what is a good temperature. We leave it at 270. Smarter to go slow rather than bump it up to 350 and leave it at 4 minutes. At least at 270, I can kind of leave it in for 7 minutes, 8 minutes, and then I can check on the headlight to make sure that I'm not damaging it or anything like that. So I'm gonna let this warm up, and then next clip, you're gonna see me, you know, just putting a headlight in your kitchen oven. Now it's preheated, we're gonna open this thing up. As you can see, we have a wood in here, so that way you can put your headlight on that and also rest all the wiring, so that way it doesn't get burnt up or melt. Like I said earlier in the video, if this contacts any of the metal, you are going to destroy your headlights. So be very careful. Find a slab of wood that fits in there perfect, or at least carries your headlight perfectly, and place your headlight carefully on top of it. So let's go ahead and get that popping. Take your phone or your stopwatch, your Apple Watch, your mom, girlfriend, sister, brother, dog, cat. 7 minutes, we're counting down. And now I don't know what to do for 7 minutes. All right, couple of seconds left. So now I'm gonna go ahead and take the headlight out of the oven. So now you baked your cake, go ahead and pull it out. I know everybody gets scared of putting their headlight in an oven, because I was, but it's not as bad as you think. So honestly, the last one I kind of just was able to tear it. That's out, cool. There we go. Boom, got you a separated headlight, baby. All right, so I'm gonna unplug this right here. And that is the DRL. And that's why you wear your gloves, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so let's take this back to the studio, and I wanna show you guys how to retrofit your G35 Spec D headlights. Glove up, wear a glove. Everybody, wear a glove. I wanna start easy with the Profile Performance Demon Light. It's RGB, it's cool. Everybody likes RGB nowadays. The Spec D projector, I'm actually gonna keep this on here, like I said, just for the sake of moving through it quickly. I'm gonna cut the housing right here on the top. Once you open up these lights, you'll know what I'm talking about. There's gonna be a tab, and essentially I use that as a guide as to where I'm gonna cut, and then you can put the bracket on top for your demon eye there. Let's get the projector off so we can go ahead and start modifying it. And like always, keep your screws in a good place, because if you lose this, man, headache. You give me headaches. No, Drake and Josh, no, no, okay. It helps to have a Phillips head that's magnetic so you don't drop screws in the housing. So I'm gonna keep the ground there because we're gonna have to put it back anyway, and as a point of reference so I don't forget, it's gonna stay there. But for now, gonna move this to the side. All right, so now we're gonna cut the top of the projector right here along these lines. I followed and used this as a template on the other ones, that way I can have a nice smooth cut. And then we're gonna use the bracket to put it on top. But first, let's get this popping. Before you start anything, don't do your safety squints. Go ahead and get some glasses just to protect yourself. You never really know, so yeah. I like how the camera went up just to prove I'm actually using protection. Theme of the day, use protection. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and pry this out. You will need something to help clean the inside of projector. We do recommend having an air compressor, so that way you can just blow inside of here and make sure there's no debris. You don't want to finish your retrofit and then find out that you have debris all over the lens on the inside. So we're gonna clean this up later, but for now, we already got this situated. I'm gonna get my Profile Performance Demon Light and get this popping. The Profile Performance kit does come with a bracket, but we're not gonna use this like triangular shaped one at all. So we're gonna use this bracket that you can get on TheRetroFitSource.com, literally called the Demon Eye bracket. I know it's very confusing. So we're gonna use this and move forward. This is the problem with having big hands and these little packages. Whoa, wait, I did that to myself, damn. The package comes with this bracket and a bolt and nut that you're gonna need to get everything dialed in. You're gonna bolt this on the backside like that and then have the Demon Eye, and I'll show you on a close-up in a minute, the Demon Eye is gonna be over it like that, shooting from top down. But before we do that, I'm gonna let you guys know that make sure to shoot the bolt up, because I made the error of putting it down, and of course how the housing works, the stud is literally gonna hit the projector itself. So just have it going the other way and it'll fit just fine. Also, while we're here, I'm gonna take out this bulb, and later we're gonna replace this dingy eBay bulb with a Morimoto HID bulb. All right, as you can see, it does have a grommet at the end, but we're gonna worry about that later. For now, I'm gonna go ahead and get this lined up properly. So I'm gonna grab the bolts, I'm gonna get my Demon Eye and my bracket. I'm gonna put this together and I'm gonna put the bolts up through. I know it might be a little bit difficult to see on camera, but I promise you the stud is going up, as you can see. Then I'm gonna get a nut and I'm gonna lock it. I'm gonna make a mark through here so that way I can make this fit around the projector, and then you're able to bolt it all up, and it's just super easy from that point. So grab your Dremel. Again, we also have the bits on TheRetroFitSource.com in case you need some. Might as well throw it in the cart just to be safe, and I'm gonna get this popping. I'll show you how it looks in the end, but honestly, how you cut it, it's very self-explanatory. I made the cuts through here on the bottom of the bracket, and then I sent the stud up so that way it doesn't hit the projector as you're putting it in. But now you're gonna see me be able to have the clearance I need to get this complete. All right, let's get the wiring in. The Demon Eye itself is over the top of the projector, so that's how you're gonna have it oriented. You might have to shift it around. Once you cut into the bracket, of course, you're kind of weakening the metal, so you might have to bend it back into place to make it fit properly. But I'm gonna go ahead and tighten up this projector, because once we are done here, we're done. The good thing about doing only this Demon Eye was we kept the projector that came with this housing, so it's very simple to put back together. Now everything is tightened up on the first projector. Now we're gonna move on to putting on the second projector on the bottom. From factory, your G35, I believe the headlights have a fog light and the high beam situated in this area, but once you get spec D lights, then it's just high beam. We're gonna go ahead and bring back some functions with a BI-Xenon projector, and that means you have to take this out. There are 3 bolts on the back end. One of them is really hard to the left, so I recommend getting a Phillips head screwdriver that has a magnetic tip. So that way, once you're threading it out, you know what I mean? Why was I doing that, like whipping? All right, when you're threading it out, man, my ADD, like my intrusive thoughts, bro. Dang, I got her filming you over. There's 3 bolts you need to get out of here. One of them really hard to the left. Use a magnetic tip so that way once you start it out, you're good to go. Once that's all out, I'm just gonna go ahead and pull it all out from the front, and it makes it a lot easier rather than having to thread out these bolts, and it's just a pain. So that's initially how we did it, but we found a workaround around it, and I wanna make your lives easier. I'm gonna take this out from the bottom right here, save it for the end, because you're gonna need your, I'm trying my best to not say OEM, but this isn't OEM, but you're gonna need that later. So you can probably see the bolt coming out, threading right there. Now I'm gonna go ahead and put on the Morimoto Micro D2S 5.0 by Xenon into this housing. I'm gonna show you guys how easy it is, and then we can move towards completing everything. We are almost done. Now we are gonna have to get this back in play, and we're gonna have to remove the 3 bolts that are here so we can take out this center portion and also the little clip that retains the bulb, and then we can replace it with the Morimoto projector. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that started, and also letting you know there is a little bit of cutting that we have to do on the back end of this, but once we get there, I'll show you exactly what you have to do. You like that technique, huh? See how like spinning this thing out fast AF? You like that? Look at that. Oh, here we go again. This one's more difficult. Oh God. Okay. Got it. I don't want to say I'm the king of retrofitting, but I'm definitely like a adjuster. Maybe like a princess. Then I'm gonna go ahead and just take this out and pull it away. Don't need it. But we do need this. Now on the back end of this, there's gonna be a lock that's gonna be in here, and in order for us to adjust the projector properly, that means that I'm gonna have to trim certain areas of it, so that way you can adjust it just a little bit more, so that way you can have your light output actually align and make sense. We're gonna go ahead and get the locking ring, and I'm gonna make some measurements so I know exactly where I need to cut, so we can lock in the projector and move towards sealing this all back up. In your packaging for your projector, there's gonna be a seal. So the reason why we are making some kind of adjustments or cutting the back end of this is because this thread isn't long enough on this specific housing. To make sure that everything fits, what you wanna do is put the seal on, and then you make your measurements. You're gonna use this ring to put on the backside of the projector, and once you get it in there, that's gonna lock it in to make sure it doesn't move around, followed by the ring. And once it's tight, obviously you're gonna press against it to keep the projector in its correct orientation and shape. In order for this to work, you have to have a little bit of thread out, so we do recommend cutting a little bit. We're probably gonna use a belt sander to make this housing a little bit less tall, like me. And then we're gonna cut the back end here where the ring is supposed to lock, so that way you can have more adjustability to make sure your projector is aimed properly and your cutoff line is straight. So now we're gonna move towards the belt sander, and let's get this sanded down just a tad, and then we're gonna cut the back end. And that's it. You know, I just want to be done and just see this thing on the car looking all beautiful and everything. I want like VQBellas to be like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Yes. I'm just kidding, dude. To protect myself, of course, I have my Morimoto mask, but I'm gonna slide it down for now just so I can talk to you guys properly. What you wanna do is sand it down to make it as flat as possible, because it kind of has a little bit of like play around when it's, you know, you don't want it to move around a lot. So this is already done. Now, what we have to do is cut the inside here, like I said, and I'm gonna show you guys with a close-up of where you would wanna cut, so that way you can create that adjustability for yourself. We need to get this ring to have some kind of play. So it sits in here, but the way that the projector is sitting in the housing, you're gonna need to shift it just a tad. For us to remedy that, what we're going to do is cut certain areas going to my right, which would be your left. Quick maths. We're gonna cut these areas off so that way you can have more adjustability. So right now I'm working on the driver's side, so I'm gonna be cutting in this direction, but if it was passenger side, I'd be cutting in the opposite direction. Let's get started. So I stepped away because this is gonna create a lot of dust, and you should use your mask so that way you can protect yourself. Keep in mind, you can also get a Morimoto mask on TheRetroFitSource.com. We got it all, baby, one-stop shop. So now everything's cut and trimmed properly. Now what we're gonna do is grab the Morimoto projector. You wanna put the flat part with the flat part of the projector and match everything. So let's slide that in. And make sure your weather tight seal is on here as well too before you put it in. So now we have this together. What we're gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna put a microfiber under here so the lens doesn't get scratched up or anything. The ring that I was talking about earlier is now gonna get installed on the backside. And last, we have our locking ring. I'm gonna put this on as well too. So we do also have the locking tool available on the TRS website. If you want to make your life a little bit easier, especially making sure that this ring is actually tight, this tool is going to save your life, because you can attach a socket on the top and then obviously tighten it down with a ratchet. So I'm going to use this by hand first to make sure that I'm all good. I'm always all good. I'm a retrofitting expert now. So note to self, don't torque this hard. I like to keep it a little bit loose, because just like what I brought up earlier is that you need to be able to turn this left and right when you're putting this in the projector housing. You wanna make sure that the top projector and the bottom projector, since these are BI-Xenon, they're both gonna run the low beams. So we're gonna make sure the low beams match up as close as possible together. So don't tighten this all the way yet, because once this is tight, it's a pain in the butt to get off. Now we're gonna move towards putting the projector back into the housing, and then we're gonna wrap up our install. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and tighten everything and just make sure that this is snug and exactly how when you took it out. And remember, there is a bolt that is a pain in the butt to get to that's on this side, but it's okay, because we are gonna do our best to make sure this is as tight as possible. Please don't ghetto rig it and do some stupid that makes you f up your bolt, and then you're like, oh my God, what happened? Why'd you guys make me do this? And I'll be like, I warned you, I warned you. Now, as you can see, I went ahead and got the projector in here. What we need to do is make sure that it's loose a little bit so you can have that adjustability. You want to make sure that this cutoff line for the low beam matches the projector up top as close as possible. So now what I'm going to go ahead and do is take our Morimoto HID bulbs. I'm going to put these inside the projectors. I'm gonna power it up so that way I can make sure that all the lines match exactly where I want them to be, and then we should be good to go. Now keep in mind, VQBella wanted to keep this as OEM plus as possible, so I didn't want to change the color temperature. This is a 5K bulb. It's gonna be a nice, perfect white. I'm a huge fan of these bulbs. I think they look great. I have this on one of my other vehicles. There's no way I'm going back. 5K is the move for me personally, but you can choose other color temperatures on TheRetroFitSource.com. So also disclaimer, though I am putting in the bottom projector's HID, keep in mind that this is used to lock it down. That ring is gonna keep it nice and snug. We are gonna put this on for now, but you do have to take it back out so you can lock the locking ring for the projector. I just want you guys to know what you're getting into before you just button this all up and then have to undo it. All right, let's line this thing up. So Jonesy already went ahead and got this lined up for me. That's it. You look so nonchalant, so chill. Like, teach me to be like you. We're gonna go ahead and take out the locker that holds the HID bulb out as I'm fingering this thing. So that way we can lock down the, what? So that way we can lock down the locking ring for the projector. Because unfortunately, you are not gonna be able to get the tool on for the locking ring while the HID locking ring is also on, so. Sometimes you gotta double nut. Now I have the tool on the locker itself. I'm gonna grab a 10mm and a deep socket so that we can turn it. So also Jonesy would be a great help here because we need to make sure that this does not move. So once the projector is in a spot that you need it to be for the lines to line up, he went ahead and made a mark on the housing itself with a black Sharpie. So if it does move, we know, all right, we need to adjust that back. So let's go ahead and get it tightened up. Now we're getting to the point where we're gonna clean up and then button up, but I'm also gonna bring out my 3 Easy Shroud, which is pretty sick. Since Bella wants to keep like a chrome aesthetic, this just so happens to be chrome. It's sick, I like it. It's a cool style. It's a very simple, kind of just straight to it kind of style. I like it a lot. So this will go right over the second projector because you don't want to just have your housing look like a piece of shit and just leave this exposed and the lens it just looks all bad. Keep your aesthetics up. Typically you would need to cut the shroud or trim it to make it fit. Please be very careful doing that because you don't want to mess this up. I have a coworker that's standing right behind the camera that you can't see because this isn't 3D vision. Got to the very end of his shroud and then cracked it. And that was about 2 hours. 2 hours of work, Garrett? Hour of work. So I don't want you guys to get through an hour of work, be almost there, and then boom. So cut in increments, small ones. But for this one, thankfully, we can just stuff it in there and it will hold itself in place. All right, so now the shroud is inside. Try not to touch it as much so it doesn't move around and pop out. Now we're gonna take this back to our other room because that's where our air compressor is. And also I'm gonna grab some microfibers and just clean everything out. And then we just have to use some glue. Back to the oven. If your parents or significant other wasn't mad about you using the oven the first time, wait till you have to tell them you have to do it 2 times. Maybe 3 times, 4 times. Sometimes you mess up and you gotta reopen it. It be like that. Air compressor. If you don't have one, I do recommend that you get an air compressor or just, I don't know, find your local tire shop and keep this thing in saran wrap and blow it out. I don't know, you might have to get creative, but I wanna go ahead and air this out. So essentially you just wanna make sure that there's no dirt anywhere because once you put this housing back in, you're gonna see it, especially on the lens itself. So if you have any marks on the lens, take something and wipe it down. And I'm gonna clean the lens as well too. We're gonna use our retro rubber to go ahead and put this inside of the housing. Don't just take this out the package and put this on the housing. Stretch it out. Pull it a little bit and keep stretching it until the point where you think it's like at a good thickness, and then that will match the housing itself. You don't wanna overdo it and put a ton of this on, but don't be too light on it and have the potential of outside weather elements getting inside of your housings. So make sure it's stretched out and it's at a length that will cover the entire housing. If you're a little bit short, it is okay. You can always just put a little bit more. There we go, break off the excess. Now we're gonna wait on the oven to preheat. I'm gonna connect this connector back on to make sure that the DRL works still. And then we're gonna slide this in. But also be very careful when you're pushing it against the shroud because that's very close contact and you don't wanna seal this up and then your shroud is moved in. Ask us how we know. One of those moments, can we have one of those? No, you gotta go higher. No. No, bro, you gotta go higher. What are you doing? You're like, what? No, we gotta do it towards camera, you know what I mean? You ready? It's like that meme. All right, so now we're gonna thread the screw on through. Keep in mind, some of the rubber will kind of make it a little bit tough, but that's okay. And this is where you'll see some of the excess coming out, which is totally fine. We can clean this up later. Just like that, we finished everything for the retrofit on these Spec D headlights for the G35. Now, we're gonna get these back into the car, but also I wanna give you guys a little bit of voiceover of what ballast and other type of wiring you're gonna need to get these wired up and working properly. Let's go. We use the full Morimoto HID kit with a relay harness. We put 5K bulbs to give a brilliant white light along with the 35-watt ballast to power it all up. We use the 9006 female to H4 male adapter. We cut off the H4 end and use that to tap into the OEM ballast to power the Morimoto relay and Morimoto ballast. We use 2 more 9006 female to H4M adapters to power the high beam function of the Morimoto projectors. Also, the cherry on top, we use the Morimoto Bluetooth controller. That way you can control what colors are seen or if you want to have it strobe, fade, or flashing. It depends on your taste. Put everything back together in a nice tucked location to have a clean aesthetic. You thought we were gonna show you how it looks in the first video? You're crazy. What we're gonna do is we're gonna get VQBella here and I want both of you guys to experience it for the first time because it looks freaking sick. Stay tuned for episode 2 because I can't wait to see VQBella's reaction when she sees her car finally done. Don't look, don't look, don't look. And